It finally happened, the day every UK enthusiast has been waiting for. Friday the 24th of May 2024, Hyperia, the UK's fastest and tallest roller coaster, finally opened to the public. I found my fearless 3 times. I did a ride near the front, I did a ride on the back row, right hand seat, and I did a ride in the middle as well. This is going to be my review, it's going to be an honest review, and it's going to be quite detailed. So if you don't want to listen to the detail and you just want to know the answer to the title, because everybody hates clickbait, me too, I'll put a timestamp in right now. You're still here, awesome. Right, let's begin. First of all, let's talk about the organisation on the day. So the queues, the way that Thorpe Park organised the queues, the way they managed everything, quite honestly, it was brilliant. I attended Voltron's opening. Thankfully, I wasn't in the main crush. The crowd kind of split off 2 ways in France. We were in the quieter side. But I saw the videos and I saw from a distance how bad it was. It was absolutely shockingly organised. It was dangerous. The amount of enthusiasts that are turning up to these events these days, these parks need to take notice and they need to plan for them, and Thorpe Park did exactly that. So we arrived at around 8:45. I actually got there a little bit earlier, but I had to wait for some friends. We joined the outdoor queue at around 8:45. There was a holding pen outside. It was already fairly full, maybe a quarter full when we joined at that time. They'd already filled the holding pen inside, so we weren't going to be allowed in till sometime between 20 to 10 and 10 o'clock. So we waited there until that time. At that time, 10 o'clock, we started to filter through. We got past the turnstiles and they filled the holding pen again. So just behind us, thankfully we just got through, but just behind us they had to stop letting people through the turnstiles again and holding them in that holding pen for even longer. This was the only negative of the day really for me, because at that point somebody at the front of that queue got a bit nasty and a bit aggressive, a bit of argy-bargy. Security was fantastic. On top of it, in an instant, he'd barely got a chance to push the other bloke, and 2 security guards were on him and they dealt with it. So, after that little bit of argy-bargy, once the queue started moving again, there was a queue to the left-hand side, which was for people that wanted to ride Hyperia, and if you didn't want to ride Hyperia, you'd go to the right-hand side and you could go off and ride the other rides. That queue for Hyperia on the left-hand side snaked around the dome, around the left-hand side, the outside, and made its way towards where Soar Alive's queue used to be. Where that was, it's been a picnic area recently, I think. They had a temporary cattle pen set up. There was about 8 back and forths across the whole row. It took quite a while, I'm not going to lie, nobody likes a cattle pen. It's horrendous, but it's much better to do something like that and keep things safe for everybody than to have a mad rush for the ride's actual queuing system. So I'm glad they did it. It took a while, but we got through it. All along there, constantly there were people checking if we wanted any food and drink. We were carrying card machines. Staff from the parks, they'd go to the food booths, they'd pick up what you wanted. Twice I used them. I bought a drink twice, paid by card, they brought it to me. Absolutely fantastic. Once you were through that cattle pen, you made your way slowly to the rides area. Once you got to the rides area, there was an option to go to the toilet. This was really, really well thought out, really well organised, because by this time we'd been waiting a few hours and obviously some of us needed the toilet. How that worked was they gave you a card with a return time on it. It had your whole group's number on it, so if you were a group of 4, all 4 of you had to step out and wait. You'd go to the toilet, and then as long as you were back within that return time, they'd let you back into the queue at the same point. Absolutely fantastic. They thought of everything. Honestly, it really was one of the most thought out, well organised events that I've been to. And I've been to a fair few. It was certainly the best roller coaster opening I've been to in terms of organisation. After the toilet break, it wasn't long before you joined the main queue. So you entered under the wings. The main queue itself has 3 small sections of cattle pen. Honestly, after the big one, it didn't feel like anything. It felt like it flew once we got into there. Once you've done the main queue, obviously, there is a merge point where you merge with the single rider and the fast tracks, and then you go up the stairs and you're onto the ride. So yeah, a big massive well done to Thorpe Park staff and everybody involved in planning that, everybody that executed it on the day, from the people that organised the security, to the people fetching drinks, the people managing the toilet breaks. Everybody, you did a superb job, and honestly I am grateful. Bit apprehensive about attending another opening day after Voltron, after seeing the videos and what I saw with my own eyes, but you absolutely smashed it out of the park. Well done and thank you. Okay, we're going to talk about the theming next, or the lack of it, supposedly. So it's been said, I think by Thorpe Park themselves, that the ride would be stylised and not themed. But it's got a story. There's theming elements everywhere. All the surrounding buildings have been stylised exactly the same as Hyperia. The story ties in with the ride and the hides and everything. The theming elements all around it tie in. I'm sorry, but it's themed. It may be not the best theme, not the most detailed in its execution, but it's definitely themed. It's got a story. There's theming elements to go with the story. The styling matches the story. It's a bloody themed coaster. Stop saying it's stylised. Icon is stylised. Absolutely no story. The style is just completely separate from the coaster. There's no story to match it. Hyperia is themed. As for the quality of that theming, it's okay. The area itself, I actually really like. The aesthetic around the area, you know, the goldy browny colour, the buildings, the way everything looks, I like it. I think it's great. I like the fact they've added a few theming elements, you know, the signs in the queues, the wings, other bits and bobs. They've made a little bit of an effort, a bit more than we probably expected when they described it as stylised. But the station itself, I just feel like they could have made a little bit more of an effort in the station. Now somebody's thought about the station, they've put lights in there, there's projection in there, there's smoke. I like the LED lights under the, where you load on and off. It looks really good. The problem is, they only work really at night. Merlin, you hardly ever open your bloody parks at night. How the hell is anybody going to see it? We'll see it for Fright Nights, and that's about it. When we did see it at night, it looked really, really good. The projection, the smoke, the lighting, everything. It tied the station up nicely, and it looked really, really nice. However, like I say, you're just not going to get to see that very often. So I wish they'd put more theming elements into the station. The trains are stunning. I like the trains. They look really, really smart, really, really classy. I like the aesthetic. It is a very race car aesthetic, as other people have said, but I like it. It looks good, looks sleek, suits the ride perfectly. Now then, how was the ride itself? That's the important question, isn't it? It doesn't really matter, themed, not themed, good theming, bad theming, who really cares? It's a hypercoaster. How was the ride itself? That's what's important. That curve thing out of the station does nothing for me. Absolutely pointless. The only thing I can say about it is that when the atmosphere was good and there was loads of enthusiasts in the queue, it was a good opportunity for people to get the crowd going, clap, wave, whatever, but that's just not going to happen every day, is it? Seems pretty pointless. It was also making a weird noise by the end of the night, but that's another story altogether. The lift hill, it's really, really quick. You get amazing views from it, but yeah, barely get a chance to see them. It absolutely throws you over the top. So then, how was the drop? Because that's what's important on a hypercoaster. It's one of the most important elements on any hyper. You've got to have a good first drop. I've been lucky enough to ride some fantastic drops. I've ridden things like Zadra, Iron Gwazi, Let Coaster, loads of coasters with good drops. My favourite first drop of any that I've ridden so far was Hyperia. Now, how does it compare to Hyperions? Let me tell you, it absolutely smashes it. It's got a similar profiling, and it throws you over the top into that steepness, which actually throws you out of the chair straight away, especially if you're in the back. But then, just as you've been thrown out of the chair, it rotates. And the force of that rotation keeps you out of your chair and spins you around and makes the airtime feel even stronger. It's absolutely insane. By far, my number one drop in the world. by far. The Intamin is good. It's got really good airtime. It's a bit more floaty than I expected, except for at night in the back. It really kicks at night in the back, but for most of the time, it felt a lot more floaty than I expected. It's fantastic. It sustains that floater somehow, and it feels really, really good. But I expected it to be a bit more ejectory than it was, for me at least. Really good element, nothing wrong with it, absolutely loved it. Was just a bit surprised, that's all. After you've done the Intamin and hit the bottom, you then go up into the outer bank twist, outer bank roll, John Burton roll, what sausage roll, whatever you want to call it. That weird element. I expected that to feel more like hang time. I thought that because of the angle of it, you were going to feel like you were hanging from the train. But it doesn't. Because you're still quite upright when the airtime kicks in, it feels more like ejector airtime, and it was really, really solid in the back. Not only that, but it sustains the ejector throughout the whole thing, and then intensifies it when it rolls. It's absolutely insane. Quite honestly, one of the best elements of any coaster ever that I've ridden. I really, really, really liked that whatever it's called, that element. I think up until that point, one of my favourite elements was Zadra's stall, which brings us nicely onto the next element of Hyperia, because you then go into a stall. Now that stall feels, again, a lot less hang timey than I expected it to. Looking at the off-ride videos, I'm not going to lie, it did look a bit slow, and it is certainly slower than things like Zadra, but it still feels floaty. It really does, especially later in the day. It feels floaty and it feels amazing. Is it the best stall that I've ridden? No, I genuinely do think Zadra's is better. I was fortunate enough to be in Energylandia the day before riding Hyperia, so Zadra's stall's fresh on my mind, and it is a hell of a lot quicker. You float through that stall, you're getting sort of upside down airtime. You don't feel really any hang time at all on Zadra's stall. It is incredible. Hyperia's stall doesn't quite match up to it for me. I know others have said it's better, but I don't agree, unfortunately. I genuinely think it's fantastic. Brilliant element, absolutely love it, but not quite as good as Zadra's. Certainly better than Velocicoasters and several others I've ridden. Probably my second favourite stall, to be honest, but yeah, it doesn't quite beat Zadra's, unfortunately. Then after you've done the stall and the dive loop, you hit the splashdown effect. It's not a real splashdown, obviously, it's a fake one, because it's hiding some trim brakes. Now these trim brakes, unfortunately, they do hit hard. They make it very clear that this coaster could have had a bit of life left in it, but they needed to trim it to slow it down. However, the next element's quite small. I think it's called the Stengel dive, and it really does hit well because of its size. Even though the train's been slowed down, you get some good air time as you're going around it. After you've done that element, then you hit the bunny hop. Now this bunny hop, unfortunately, is one of the most disappointing elements for me. Watching it, I expected it to be really, really hard hitting, loads of ejector. A bit like Goliath at Wallaby Holland, maybe. You know, the bunny hops at the end of there. I expected something like that, but just one of them doesn't hit that hard. Either way, still, it's a nice way to finish the ride, and then you're into the brakes. Nice and gently, nothing too hard, nothing like Zadra or Hyperion. You don't slam into them like we expected. Nice and gentle, and then a gentle roll back to the station. So then the big question, what do I think of the ride? First of all, let's talk about the length of the ride, because that was one of the big worries going into it. A lot of people had concerns, myself included if I'm honest. I thought it was going to be a bit short, and yes, we'd all like it to be a bit longer. I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to deny that. Obviously, we'd like this massive ride to be longer and have a few more elements, maybe a few bunny hops at the end that actually hit. However, all of those elements that are on the ride are so big and hit so hard, it doesn't matter. I came off that ride completely satisfied. I didn't come off it feeling shortchanged. I didn't come off it thinking that was short. I really, really did enjoy the ride, and I came off it 100% satisfied. So it doesn't need to be longer. We'd like it to be longer, but it doesn't need to be longer. I think that's the important thing. How do I rate the ride? I absolutely love it. I absolutely adore Hyperia. It's such a shame it's down now. It's such a shame those other people that visited Saturday and Sunday didn't get to experience it. I am so gutted for them. Unless you're one of the people that was taking the mickey out of those going on open day, then you can reap what you sow and you can suck it up. But anybody else, anybody that was just going Saturday or Sunday because they had no choice, I am so sorry you haven't got to experience it. And hopefully Thursday it'll all be fixed and you'll be able to get onto it, because it is absolutely 100%, without a doubt, in my opinion of course, the best ride in the UK. There is no doubt about it. For 30 years I have adored Nemesis. It has been my baby. I have loved it. I was there in opening year. I didn't go to opening day, but I went in opening year, and I've absolutely idolised that coaster ever since. I remember taking disposable cameras to Alton Towers and sitting on the Beastie before the days of no loose articles, and you could actually get views of it from the Beastie, sitting on the Beastie taking photos. I remember doing that. I love that ride, but obviously it was inevitable at some point, with all the new technology, all of the new elements, all of these crazy, wacky rides that are higher, faster, do silly things, at some point, Nemesis had to lose its top spot. And that time is now. It's here. It's the time of Hyperia. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed my review. Hope, if you haven't already ridden it, that you can get out as soon as possible and ride it, because it really is worth it. And if you have already ridden it, let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, thank you for watching. Bye.